Okay, so the recording started this time. I'm hoping that obviously technical issues, my kids' nursery being nursery, if you have kids, you know what it's like. This is episode 16 of the NWC Show, and if you'd like to introduce yourself.
I am the franchise player, Shady Nattrass.
Awesome, man. Like I says before obviously we went through the issue of the kids' nursery and stuff. Don't forget to go check your cell out. Everybody should go check you out. You've got cool matches. You've had some. The one I was checking out last night was the one with Doug Williams, and I've watched a few of your other ones as well. It's been really cool. It's cool to see that kind of different style and get that kind of independent British wrestling style as well, which is a lot different than what you see in TV in America and stuff like that. So, what got you into wrestling?
I've got three brothers, and it must have been early 90s. We all kind of started getting into watching the WWF, and then after trashing the house a few times, it was natural progression to start actually training.
Yeah, I was something similar. It was I caught it when I was at my mum's friend's house, and me and my friend kind of try to do that in the backyard kind of stuff. But then you really hurt yourself, and you're like, okay, we need to really go learn to like train. So I went and done that for a little bit of time as well. But it was just when you've really hurt yourself, or you're in your house and your mum comes in and she's like, you're not allowed to do this anymore. You're like, oh, right, well, I better go find somewhere I can destroy you somewhere else. And how long have you been in wrestling yourself? How long have you been out there in the ring?
I started training in 1999, and I had my first match in 2001. So this year will be 20 years since my first match.
And have you got any plans of like rolling it down soon, or are you still just having fun out there?
Just having fun, just see where it goes. Wrestling's far too unpredictable for everybody to aim at getting a WWE contract or whatever people's future targets are. But I just enjoy wrestling.
It's so refreshing to speak to just somebody that enjoys it. I've had a few wrestlers on and stuff, and they've always already got like their exit plan, and they're like, so I'm 29, I'm turning 30 this year, and they're the same age as me, and they know when they're leaving, when they're kind of starting to get out, and it's just refreshing to speak to somebody who's just like, I just enjoy going out there and wrestling. It's quite refreshing.
I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it, and that's, I like to think I'm quite good at it, so I don't know why I'd already plan stopping something that A, I enjoy, B, I'm quite good at, so just keep going.
Yeah, I totally get that. I don't know why people would like, it's like just stopping a hobby, like something that you like doing and having an end date on a hobby. It's like, well, I like it, why am I going to stop it? Yeah. So obviously you're out there, you're active at the minute. What's something that you enjoy about being active in that kind of independent scene at the minute?
It's just there's so much talent on the scene, and a lot of different, like I said, different styles and things. It is refreshing to see, rather than everybody being exactly the same. So many different characters and, as I say, styles. It's fun. Well, I'm 38 next month, so to think that I've got to try and keep up with them is the other part.
No, so I totally get what you're saying. Like, is when I started wrestling training, I was only like 12 or 13. Like, I was really young. But like now, it's a lot more professional than when I started it. It was like in a garage in the middle of nowhere in Scotland, and I'm sure you've probably got a similar story. You go and they just make you sick the first couple of weeks. They make you run. Everything, the hardest parts of it, they show you straight away.
Yeah. Well, we had a tough initial training, because it was basically just we got ripped off. So we paid like £200 signing on fee, which we knew from reading things that's what they do in the States. So it wasn't too big an issue, because, as I say, we kind of expected it. And then we were paying £20 a week for an hour and a half, no insurance, boxing ring. And after about 6 weeks or so, he he basically just came, opened the doors, and then left, and then came back when it finished. And it was just like, oh. But it got us in. We wanted it now, so it wasn't going to stop.
Now, my one was with I don't know if you know the SWA, the Scottish Wrestling Alliance, was with them. So when they were kind of running shows before ICW was kind of the main Scottish promotion, they were it, and they were running shows. And I went one time, I was like, "Where do you guys train?" And they gave me like this little business card that looked very professional. And I turned up, and it was like a garage with the door opened, and I was like, "Is there any way to get changed?" And they were like, "Just over in that corner, will be fine." And the guy was like, "Is this your first time here?" And he gave me like the spiel about, "Oh, it's a long journey and all that kind of stuff." And I was like, "I'm willing to do it." And he was like, "Right, so the first day, I want you to just go run. Like, there was like 10 of us, I think." And he's like, "Just run around this industrial estate." So I was doing that, and I was sick everywhere and everything. Everybody else left, and it was just me. And he was like, "I thought you went home." And I was like, "I'm no." He's like, "I totally forgot you were here." And I was like, "Thanks." Then it was just from then it was like teaching shoot training and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a lot more professional now than what it was back then.
Well, we actually worked for SCW. That was SWA. Like it kind of evolved into SWA. So yeah, we actually wrestled up there for a bit as well.
Yes, I love going to see like the kind of indie shows in like England, Wales, Ireland, Scotland. It's such different atmosphere, and it's like there is still a lot of people sometimes. I remember going to an ICW show in Maryhill, and there was like 2 people, and I was like the second person, so it was like nobody was there. And we're putting on these great shows, chairs, tables, and there's just like 2, 3 people in the audience. I was like, it must be hard, like being in there. And I remember when I first started, it was like you're like the lower card of like the starting show, and there's nobody there. There's people walking in coughing and stuff. So it can be hard for people that don't realise how much it takes.
It's a lot easier now. Like when we started actually working shows and things, it was still still hadn't come out of the dark days of British wrestling, so the crowds were still low. But as long as you get a noise out of them, you've got to kind of see all the shows as a learning experience. If you were to wrestle on a show with 10 people in the crowd, if you can get them 10 people to make the noise of 100, it's by the time you wrestle in front of 100, it's going to be even better.
Yeah, 100%. Like I remember my first match was just in front of like 3 people, and one of them was like a gran that was there with their kid, and the guy I was tagging with, we're getting them cheering and stuff like that, and I was like, this is so cool. But unfortunately, it was like I had like 3, 4 matches, and I broke my neck, so it was like I wasn't able to continue. So, what was your kind of first experience like? What was your kind of first couple of experiences?
Well, we started with a rumble, which it's very basically go out there and see what happens. But our first actual match was a strange handicap match because it was myself and my 2 brothers, and we were the faces, and we were against a tag team, which was Mikey Whiplash and Tim Wiley. But the story was they didn't get on. So the match itself made 0 sense whatsoever. We got told by the promoter very little. Basically, we got told who goes over, and that was it. So we didn't even get a time limit or anything. And we went too long and dragged it all out. But it was what it was. At the time, people probably didn't really notice how bad it was. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
I think you as well at live shows you kind of get swept up in the atmosphere as well. So like a match can be terrible. Like even the bigger shows like WWE, AEW, you can watch a match and it's terrible, but when you're there live, you're just swept up in how cool this atmosphere is. But yeah, no, I think everybody's got those stories from like their kind of early careers, and it's just like why, like what the hell's happening here? They don't know what's going on. They're trying to get over. So you said your brothers are wrestling as well. Was it like a family kind of thing you all do? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. As I say, I've got them. I initially started training with my 2 older brothers, and then my younger brother has joined in a few times, and he's had a handful of matches as well. At one point, our well, my niece was a valet for us as well. Our mum sells the tickets on the doors at Target Wrestling. She's drove the ring van. When we were running shows as Triple Team Promotions, basically the ring crew was me, my oldest brother, and my mum. So shifting the ring about was pretty difficult, but as I say, it was what we wanted to do. So that's the hard work that goes on behind the scenes that nobody even thinks about. And we're pretty self-conscious as well. So when everybody would like, oh, do you want a hand? Do you want a hand? We'd be like, no, it's okay. We'll sort it.
I think that as well, like being like such a, like I said, it's kind of like a family experience. For me, I've got a few of my own businesses, and it's like I'll use like my fiance's dad, he'll help me with something. It's like just kind of pulling it together where you can. And it just makes it mean more when you actually get something from it. And like wrestling is such. I remember going to this wrestling toy shop in the city centre in Glasgow, and this guy he would be the person who would go to the stores and share, like go to the shows, try to say, and sell like the t-shirts and stuff for the guys that were there. And he got me into training as well. He would get me like a match. He got me my first match. Like he was one of those guys that were just like he knew every wrestler in Scotland, so he could get you whatever you needed. He knew where it was, and it was just it's like a cool experience. When I went to go first time wrestle, I was like, I don't want to let this guy down. I tried my best, but you know what it's like. You try your best when you're really green. You're still like terrible at it, but I still tried my best.
That's all anybody can do, really. I was probably, I think I worked out as 14 years in before I realised what I was doing. I thought I was having decent matches, but then looking back and like it's like, oh, I get it now. This is how you do it.
I think that's like anything as well, like going to the gym or like you can be I'm a qualified personal trainer, but I've learned more from actually just doing the exercises than like when somebody was teaching me to do it. Because I went and done like MMA and stuff like that, and I remember being in college, my teacher would be like, "You're not punching correctly," and I'd be like, "Well, I'm the one who's literally went and felt at the weekend. I think I know how to punch." But it's the same thing with wrestling. You until you experience it, you can tell somebody what to do, but until you experience it and you go out and do it, you don't have a clue. And I think that's the same. Just anything in life, everybody's just stumbling their way through, trying to get where they're going.
Seeing as though we haven't been able to run shows and stuff, I've been providing feedback and stuff for trainees and other wrestlers, just as much to try and help improve them as to keep my wrestling brain active. And there's so many things that they've kind of missed, maybe haven't been taught, whether it's because they just haven't reached that point in training, or whether their trainer isn't sure of it himself. And kind of sometimes you learn them things by being in a match with somebody and get pointed out to you. But yeah, it always kind of depends on who you're working in the ring. If you keep working trainees, you're only going to be as good as the trainees. So you learn different things from different people.
Yeah, no, I seen that you were doing like on Twitter. I seen that you do like send your tapes over and stuff like that, and I'll kind of review them, which I think is so cool. Like you don't really get people doing that unless they charge like a couple of £100 for it. I think it's just refreshing for somebody to be like, I want to watch some wrestling, and I can give you some tips because you've been in it for so long. But like you said, you can notice like a few wee things here and there. Like even for somebody who's watched it for such a long time and done it a little bit, you can notice like there's a few things that people have missed. Like they've maybe missed like a Sunday class or something like that.
Well, and the thing is, like I always say to everybody that I do it for, wrestling's subjective, and just because I say something, it doesn't mean it's right. But at the same time, it doesn't mean it's wrong. But everybody has an opinion, and as long as it's safe, it's not necessarily wrong. But there's ways of getting more reactions from the crowd. More, it'll tell a better story if you do it this way. And if they don't want to take my advice, then they don't. It's not a big deal for myself. So I just want wrestling to get better because the way I see it is the better wrestling is, the better the wrestlers are, the more people go to the shows, the more money we all make, everybody wins. And that's what it's all about. It's, as I say, I enjoy it. I don't want people to not enjoy it. I don't see why the likes of when people say about gatekeeping and things. It's wrestling. We want as many people in the door as we can.
Kind of, that's like when people, like you said, when people say about gatekeeping and stuff like that, it's like, well, it's kind of the business. As you have, the whole point of wrestling is you need more wrestlers to get more people, more eyes in the business, and everybody makes more money. That's what it's always been like. So
the whole, I've noticed a lot of wrestlers and promoters don't always see the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is more getting more people to watch wrestling. So to aim your product at wrestling fans, which is already a niche product, is slimming down your margins even more. So if you can do things to attract the general public, then great, do it. As I say, it's more eyes on the product. So you've got to try and get more fans through the door. I know at Target there's always been a handful of people that come that aren't even wrestling fans, but they like the entertainment, and they come, enjoy the show, and that's it. They probably don't watch any more wrestling until the next Target show, but they enjoy themselves.
Definitely, that's like something that wrestling fans as well, especially like if you're on Twitter and stuff like that, and you see what the fans are like there. They've totally forgot, like, as much as we're fans of it, we can enjoy it. We can get the nuanced matches of like the things Bret Hart does, or like you can watch an independent show that's in Japan that nobody's looking at. But it's the general public that pay. Like, the other people that are really paying for us to enjoy. Like back in the Attitude Era, the early 2000s, it was the casual eyes coming and watching it that made the money. Then the wrestling fans were obviously picking up the good matches here and there. But like Stone Cold, he isn't the best wrestler in the world, but you can ask somebody, or even Hulk Hogan, you can just ask somebody in the street, say wrestling, they'll say Hulk Hogan or The Rock, Stone Cold, people like that. They're not the best, but it's the general people who kind of make the industry move, if that makes sense.
It was always an interesting comment Al Snow made, and he said about WrestleMania 3, and he said, if you ask a wrestling fan what the best match at WrestleMania 3 was, they'll say Savage Steamboat. But it was Hulk Hogan Andre that got people watching it. So Is that not the better match? Because it attracted all them people? As I say, wrestling's subjective, really, so it's whichever.
That's like the best example of what I was trying to explain. Just like you've got that great wrestling match that the fans can enjoy, but then the casual kind of person that's just tuned in, they're there to see this 7-foot giant go against Hulkamania. So it's like that's the normal fan. Then the niche wrestling fan gets to enjoy good wrestling as well. So I think people have forgotten that.
That's another thing about wrestling that I think people kind of underestimate is you should have a bit of everything. Yeah, you might not enjoy the first match on the show, but if you enjoy the next 5 matches on the show, then great. There's got to be something for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem that like WWE has. They're so big. They're like, I always call them the Disney of wrestling because they're the biggest company in the world, or in professional wrestling world. But they need to try and please from like the 3-4-year-old, with the colours and stuff like that, to like the niche wrestling fans. So they've just got this. They're not going to make everybody happy, and then sometimes they just make everybody angry, which is fun to see.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I was saying about the being a niche audience. Even if you include just the wrestling fans, the more nerdy wrestling fans are still outnumbered by the casual wrestling fans. So WWE don't really care what these million people do if another 100 million are still enjoying it. So
yeah, like WWE last year made the most amount of money they've ever made in the past 2 years. I think it's over $1 billion or over 2 billion or something, which is like, if we're making 2 billion, we're doing something right. And if I was making 2 billion, I wouldn't care what anybody had to say. You could hate me all you want. But like you were saying, like you probably remember back in like the kind of old. I remember my mum telling me about wrestling when I was younger, and she talked about like Big Daddy and stuff like that, like the kind of glory days of British wrestling way back in like the 60s, 70s. And I remember kind of picking up a DVD or two of them from like black markets, like the the fake DVDs and stuff. I remember putting them in, and it was just so fun to watch. Like it's a total different time, and like you said, it was so entertaining. It wasn't just wrestling. It was like at the end, Big Daddy wasn't able to move or anything like that, but like he could, he still put on a show. People were there to watch him.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like what people have forgot as well. Like it's like a reality show. Like it's a Saturday night, turn on and just watch. Obviously, it's cool to watch two guys wrestle for a wrestling fan, but like my fiance, she isn't a big wrestling fan, but she likes to watch women wrestling, and then she likes to watch like maybe like just like Charlotte Flair. I don't know, like the main people that are in WWE. I forget the ones that she loves, like all different Camilla and stuff like that. She probably loves those people, and I think they're terrible. Like no Charlotte Flair, that's different, but like Camilla, I don't think she's that great. But she'll sit and be like, "This is like the best women wrestling." I'm like, if you like it, you like it. It's your opinion. That's what wrestling is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what kind of about today's product? So, like today's wrestling community and world, whatever. What's something that you love about it? Is it there's just so much of it, or what's something that you love about it?
Well, yeah, it's so accessible as well, and that's why I don't understand why certain promotions get so much hate. If you don't like it, don't watch it. there's something else out there for you for your taste. So go and watch that, and then instead of saying something negative, say how good that thing is that you do like. So yeah, and the talent out there now is just so unreal. So there's so many wrestlers that people haven't even seen yet on a big scale, and yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to happen when we do get back to it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see when fans get back to it, and for myself being able to go to shows. But like you said, like I don't understand why people. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel. My whole YouTube channel is to critique wrestling shows, but like I'm never too negative about it. Like if something's, I think if there's a really terrible show, I'll be like, I didn't enjoy this one, but it's my opinion. Like I don't want somebody to be like tune in and they're like, oh, I love that show. I need to change my opinion. Like I don't. If you enjoyed it, you enjoyed it. It's up to me if I don't like it. I'm just a bald guy talking about wrestling.
Like again, and as I say, it's just people's opinion. If you like something and somebody else doesn't, like for me, I don't really care because I enjoyed it. it's that simple.
I'm the exact same. Like if you don't like it, if you don't like something, or if you don't agree, I don't really care. It's your opinion. I'm happy with just enjoying my opinion. Like if I like something, I'm like I don't care what anybody else thinks. This is my little thing.
I also I don't think that if I argued with somebody because I enjoyed something and they didn't, they're not going to change their mind because I argued with them. Yeah. I've got more to worry about than arguing with people. So it's, you know what I mean? It's bigger picture. It's wrestling. Yeah. Enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, don't watch it.
I think that's the best way to just explain it. Like if just take it for what it is. Like it's wrestling. Everybody knows now it's a work. Obviously, that could be like a bad part of it or a good part. Just depends. But it's like a magician. Everybody knows it's fake. Like no, everybody knows that guy pulling the rabbit out the hat isn't real. But you don't know how you do it, so just watch it and enjoy it.
TV shows, you know. Nobody going, oh, I'm not going to go and watch that movie because it's fake. It's a movie.
And what's something that you dislike about today's product? So for me, it would be that people take it sometimes too serious. Like, I don't take a lot of things serious. I think, like, I've been through a lot of stuff, so I kind of just let things come as it go, and I don't take that stuff too serious. So for me, it would be people take the product far too serious for what it is.
Probably, it is probably the negativity that's the worst part. I could, whether I could say it's social media that's the issue, because a lot of people now think that they can just berate everything and think that it doesn't affect people and things. But on the other side, I also think that they can be too positive about people, and if there's a wrestler who everybody says, oh, he's the best wrestler in the world, he'll soon start to believe it, and he might have another 10 years before he becomes the best wrestler in the world. But if he doesn't think that he's going to get any better, then he might not. So I think we also have to be realistic with our expectations of people and promotions as well. To think that a local wrestling show is going to be able to compete with WWE, you know what I mean? Realistically, no, it's not. But it doesn't mean it can't be a good show still, or even, do you know what I mean? Who knows what would happen in the future? Maybe somebody invested a lot of money in it. Just, as I say, be a bit realistic about things.
No, 100% agree with you there. Like, people that, like you're saying, like, be realistic. Somebody can be like, oh, like, I think a lot of people that are saying, like, oh, this person's the best wrestler in the world, and then, like you're saying, they might get big-headed and stuff like that. That's like the younger guys, because you don't realise, like, for anything, like, from running a business or anything at all, it takes years. So I'm like 3-4 years into my journey of running a business. I know I've still got like another 10 before I get to where I need to be. I'm happy to wait for that. But like, a lot of people just want it like in a year, and that's it. And I think that's the same with wrestling. A lot of times you get people that will either be too positive about it and too negative, and you see it on like people saying NXT is moving to Tuesday and they're going to compete with Impact Wrestling. The Impact isn't competing with NXT. They've got their little crowd. They're a small business. Like, they're not interested in this big Disney company trying to come in on a Tuesday.
No, absolutely not. I actually tweeted about it, and people, I watch so much wrestling now, and I see a lot of great wrestlers who miss things. Like, I think people struggle with match structure, and it's simple storytelling. Match structure, you have to get a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then people are just doing things, and it's like, oh, it could be so good if you did this, but they're just doing what people cheer for. And is it wrong because the crowd are into it? I don't know. It's
I would agree with you, man. I had a good conversation with a guy who's on AEW Dark a few podcasts ago, and we were talking about how it's lost that, like, when we were younger, kind of watching it. Well, when I was younger, it was like that 98 kind of period, and I started getting into it. You had that clear, this is the start of the match, this is a middle, which was always normally like a sleeper hold or like some sort of slow submission, and then it would be like that little end rally. It was a clear, not saying they were the best matches in the world, but at least you knew it was happening, and then you always had a good finisher and stuff like that.
And that goes back to the attracting fresh eyes on it. If you've got a match that's all over the place, the general public will kind of go, I don't really know what's happening here. But if they can kind of follow, you know what I mean, an 8-minute story, that's what it is. And do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be as simple as you, as I say, you start, middle, and end. You can have as many twists and turns in there as you want. But if you're doing a show on a holiday camp, they don't want to see an intricate, detailed story. They just want to see, as I say, a story, middle, and an end. So.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well. I always say I think everybody's out there to try and put on like those 5-star matches, like those like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. You pretty much name the big matches. Everybody's out there to try and do that every single night, and it's like it's okay to keep that in the tank. But like Bret Hart had plenty of terrible matches, like against like a kiss my foot match and all this kind of stuff. And then you only remember the good ones. Like it's okay to keep them in the tank for when you need to pull them out and go back to basics, pretty much. For
I think people forget about the way a card's built as well on a night. If every match is going to be 5 stars, you're making it more difficult for yourselves, because not only does the next however many matches have to follow it and keep the crowd up going, but you have to do the same next month. As I say, nobody minds having a 2-star match before a main event. Just let everybody calm themselves down. When it comes to the match that people want to see, which is the main event, let them have it. There's a lot of selfishness in wrestling, which, considering they obviously forget that it's a team play where we all have to work together. It's selfishness I don't really understand, to be honest.
No, I totally get it. When I was coming up in wrestling, the first thing that we were taught before we went to get a match or whatever, they took this big whiteboard out and they drew it on, and it was like, this is the first half of the card, which is your foundations. Then you've got like the other little bit, and then the main event's the roof. And all like, this is how it works, and you're going to move up. So just keep it like that, and it's enjoyable. The fans enjoy it, they understand it, and the way they done it like that as well was like, for me, when I was going out, I remember my first match was like the undercard of like a show that was happening. So it was like I was like the undercard of the undercard, like the event, nobody was there and stuff like that. And it was just like, just go out, have fun, do just basics, do what you have to do, get the crowd a little bit warm, and then come back. And I was like, right, cool. I went and done it, came back, and they were like, that's all we wanted you to do. And I was put, oh, that was great. Don't need to worry about anything else.
And I think that's another thing a lot of people forget is it's a job, and the promoter's the boss. If the promoter says go and do this, then you do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If the promoter wants you to like blow the roof off, try and blow the roof off. If he wants you to set the crowd up for the rest of the show, do it. There's been plenty of times when I've disagreed with promoters, but they pay me, so it's no sweat off my nose. You know what I mean? I disagreed with the promoter at Discovery on the last show because I didn't think that my team should win. But my thinking behind it was we were against the promoter and one of the announcers, because it was the show was all picked by raffle.
Yeah.
So it was kind of all randomly drawn, and it was myself and Christopher Saint against Alan and Randy. And my idea was that if they beat me, I'm quite happily lose. I could use that for months. That's months of material for my character. Right, do you know what I mean? But he thought that the wrestlers should go over, and it's fine. We went over. As I say, it's doing what we're told because it's a job.
Yeah, like you said, I think that's quite rare as well in today's. Like you find it a lot in like being around the guys that I've spoke to on the podcast in kind of Scotland, England, and stuff like that. They're willing to like, it's like what the promoter says we're going to do, and then they'll put in the points like you were saying. Oh, I think you should go over because it could be cool for my character, and it works well. Like but then when you speak to some other people, you're like, they just like they want to go over. That's it. They just like we want to win because we want to go to WWE, and it's like they're not looking at just your how many wins you've got. That's not what wrestling is. It's no MMA.
The thing is, like, probably some of my favorite wrestling moments that I've been involved in have been when I've lost. Because we've worked them well. Like, I lost one of the titles at Target Wrestling to Paul London, who was a mystery opponent on the night. And because I had cheated my way against import names before, everybody thought, oh, well, we know what's going to happen here. And then he won. And, like, the reaction was, like, insane. And it was like, yeah, that was good. And, like, a lot of our local lads at Target, Carnage beat me for the heavyweight title, and the place went nuts. We put over two of our guys in the tag match. The tag match was Polo Promotions, Grizzled Young Vets, myself and CJ Banks against Chris Kendall and Luke Ross, and everybody went, I don't really know who these two kids are, and they ended up going over, and people were like, wow, what was that? These two are my favorites now. And it was like, that's why we did it. Do you know what I mean? That's the fun part.
I think what people forget as well is like a wrestler is there because he likes wrestling. He's trained for it for his whole life, and he's not going to like if you get bet, you're not going to go home and be like, I lose that match. Like, like it's part of the story. It's a whole big thing of story. It's not just like you're going to go beat yourself up because you got bet one time.
As I say, and like by doing that and putting them over, they were then on the road, and they've had some cracking matches now, and like they're going to have big futures, and they wouldn't have experienced it if like it was an elimination tag match. If they were out first, they'd have went, oh, we had a good experience being in there with these experienced workers, but then we've also like got the crowd behind them now, so we've got to build them, and that's, as I say, I want wrestling to get better. So I like to think that I had a big hand in them two getting better. So it is all about improvement for everybody.
Yeah, and how have you found the time with COVID? Obviously, everything's been closed and the world's upside down. How have you found it, kind of wrestling and trying to keep things going and stuff like that? How have you found it?
I've probably actually been more active without actually wrestling. Obviously, I've realised that no shows, it's going to be tougher to keep relevant. So I've tried to be more active on Twitter. I've appeared on podcasts, which is something that I've never done before, because I'm of the feeling that I'm not a big name. Do you know what I mean? I'm not even on the British scene. I don't feel I'm a big name. But if you spoke to a lot of the big names in British wrestling and asked if they know me, they'll go, yeah. You know, the fact that I've worked a ton of shows with Drew McIntyre, and he's a main event of WWE. So I've been in these positions where I've worked these wrestlers and we know each other. So I do have some relevance because I'm still here after 20 years. I like to think I'm one of the good guys, even though I'm a career bad guy. Especially when the whole speaking out thing came up, and a lot of names had to disappear, and hopefully some more will as well. But yeah, it's we have to like re-establish the groundwork, and I like to think I'm one of the people that can be there when it grows back up. I want to be there helping everybody, and not for any selfish reasons. As I say, I just love wrestling, and and I started a Project Wrestling Unity, which was a way of putting over the good things in wrestling. Like, I realized when shows were happening, you always need to share show posters, match highlights. Do you know what I mean? Whatever it is, podcasts, anything, and having like a central hub where if you tagged Project Wrestling Unity in it, they'll share it. So anybody that's following them can see stuff. And I think promoters, wrestlers, and fans all underestimate how much a simple share or retweet can help. So yeah, I started that up. I've started doing YouTube videos where I do a little bit of talking and then put a past match on, and I hate doing them. The reason why it's called Pro Wrestling is Real Life is because when I'm talking on them, it's more as myself rather than my character. As I say, I genuinely hate them. I have anxiety over filming them, because, as I say, I don't think that people want to hear me talk, but you need to do it. And if that's going to get some more eyes on myself, then I'm going to do it. And you know what I mean? Like, I've had plenty of support by fans, and just even like being on here, appearing on podcasts and things, it helps me. And if I can get more people watching this, it's going to help you when I retweet it. So it's, as I said, even between the wrestlers and fans, it's teamwork. Yeah. We can only build wrestling together, because you can't do it by yourself.
No, I totally agree, man. Like, I think I started this channel at the start of kind of COVID, so last year in March, when all my clients, everything just closed down overnight, and I was like, well, I need something to do because my two kids were here, kind of the homeschooling period. I was like, I need something to do. I can't sit and look at this like mass homework and stuff anymore. So I started this, and a passion for me is I like the British kind of Scottish English wrestling scene. The talent is insane, like you were saying, and I like people to get to know, especially like Impact Wrestling, who do a lot with kind of the UK kind of smaller shows. Obviously, ICW's kind of WWE territory now, so it's cool to like see how that kind of stuff grows. But like you said, everybody just has to work together. Like, I would, if I can get some more people to watch your matches, that would make me more than happy, because you've done such good work. You've been here for obviously 20 years. You've been in the business, which is a long time. And you can teach the younger guys. If somebody can send you a tape, you can give them that little bit. It changes them from just being like that, stuck in the indies, to the next Drew McIntyre, Drew Galloway, which would be insane. I just think everybody just has to help each other. Wrestling's a team sport, like you says.
And it's really funny, because if you were to ask like people that I work with in my shoot job, they'll be like, no, Shady won't help anybody. But wrestling is my passion. It's like, my girlfriend hates wrestling, but she knows that I love it, so she pushes me to do it. Any booking I get, she tells me that I should take it, because it's what I want to do. And for years, I would talk myself out of doing seminars and things, but I want to get better. Yes. So, you know, she kind of gives me the kick up the ass that I need.
That's what my fiance does as well with anything. Like with my YouTube stuff, I was like, nobody's got to want to sit and listen to me talk about wrestling. Like, look at stay to me. And she was like, get it done. She bought me like a camera and stuff. She was like, you need to get it done. And she was like, if you don't do this, you need to sleep on the couch. So that was how my first video started, and then it just rolled from there. But like, I just think everybody should be, like you were saying, moving into like doing seminars and stuff like that. And I totally relate with like the real job. Like at my real job, everybody would be like, no, he's not going to want to help people. He's not like the nicest person to go talk to. If you came up and spoke to me, I'm like the nicest big teddy bear person ever. But looking at me, you'd be like, don't go speak to that guy because he just looks quite angry all the time. But like I'm totally happy. I don't really. I'm one of those people that just looks scarier than what he is.
That's why my heel character works so well, because they always like people always think that I look so miserable, but that's just my face.
I'm sure you've been like that as well when people go, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm having a great day. I'm fine. What's up? Is something wrong with me? I don't know what's happening." But no, when your character, I think people should really get it. I love the nuance of it. I love like the t-shirt. I hate wrestling fans. I'm going to go in and pick one up because I think it's such a fun, like a play on obviously wrestling, and it's just such a fun character. Obviously, I reached out to you like last week, I think it was. Since before then, I seen you a couple of times just wrestling randomly. I'm not going to, it's not to be cheeky or anything. I didn't remember your name, but I would remember you when I reached out to you. I seen it was like, oh, I would love to be on another podcast. And I was like, I'm sure I've seen this guy before. And I was going back and I've got an old kind of phone that's like a terrible, like one of those like 2 megapixel phones. And it's a picture of you wrestling somebody somewhere in England. And I was like, I need to bring this up. I remember the guy now. But no, like I just love everything about wrestling. It's one of my favourite things.
One of the fun things with the I Hate Wrestling fan t-shirts is I also put out some Wrestling Fans Hate Shady t-shirts.
Yeah.
and had them in bright blue so that I could see them from the ring. really obvious. In a sea of black shirts, you'd see some blue ones, and you're like, "Oh, take that shirt off." Never mind the fact that they've just put the tenner in my pocket.
The worst thing with me is I've had a few guys from ICW doing the show and like been speaking to a few guys and they're like, the next time you come to a show, you know we're going to pick on you when we're in the ring. And I'm like, I'm going to wear a wig or something, put a hat on, just shave, that'll make me look different. But no, it's so the kind of finishing up. The final 2 questions we always ask is, first one is, who's your favourite wrestler of all time? Somebody that you look up to. Who's your favourite one?
Al Snow. Al Snow was my favourite wrestler growing up. Just he had his matches weren't the same. If he was brawling, he would brawl. If he did a technical match, he could do the high flying stuff, and that's kind of what I kind of see myself as. Just I fit to whoever I work with, and then I got to work with Al, and I kind of dreaded it. At the time I was still a face, and got it like backstage. It says, "Okay, you can call anything you want. We might not do it." So I was like, "Oh my goodness, oh my god!" Got in the ring. As I said, I was a face. Al gets to the ring. The ref comes over to us, and he says, "Al says you're the heel now." So I was like, oh, no. And we had the match, and it was fine. It was like I asked him afterwards if everything was okay, and he says yeah. And we worked the show the next day, and I actually hassled him again to tell me what I had done wrong. Just I want to get better, and if you just say, "Hey, that was good," I can't improve on good. But yeah. He gave me a comment about how much I sold on his comeback, so I got something to learn from it, and that's I say it's not negative because they've told you've done something wrong. You know what I mean? You learn from mistakes. So I kind of hope that I don't do that anymore.
No, I totally agree, man. I think that's such a cool person to look up to. When I was younger and Al Snow was wrestling, it was like that kind of the early kind of head, no, the later head gimmick. And then when he went to, I can't remember, the people that wore the white shirts, their names just went away from me. I never really kind of got into him. My guy has to be Sting. I remember seeing him on Channel 5, WCW, face paint, he had the belt, the big belt, and I was like, that's my man. I need to watch him every. And I watch him. I don't care what he does, even in AEW, he's an old guy. I'm like, I don't care. It's great. He can do what he wants.
And I think that's what it's about. It's who gets your attention. And like, I actually had a discussion with my mum about it. But when I was a kid, I didn't like. I got into wrestling in 91, 92. I didn't follow Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. I was always Mr. Perfect, Mighty Jannetty. You know what I mean? I like the wrestling, and like I don't even know why. It drew me in, and that's kind of why I always like I want to have good matches.
Yeah, I love that as well. Like for me as a kid, it was Sting and then Mr. Ass, Billy Gunn. I don't know why. I think it was just because he looked different than everybody else, and I was just like they were my two favourites, and there was no change in my mind as a kid. Like as an 8-year-old, I was like these two, and then I got King of the Ring '99 on VHS, and Billy Gunn won. That was it. I popped. I jumped up as a kid. My mum came running in. She's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "He won." She's like, "Who won? What are you talking about?" And final question. This is one that everybody always either struggles with or they love. So I'm going to leave it up to you. If you could replace anybody in any match from any event at any point in history, who would it be? So for me, it would be I would replace Owen Hart to go against Bret Hart at SummerSlam in that blue kind of steel cage because that's one of my favourite matches ever. What would yours be?
Oh,
Like I
hard.
said, this is the only tricky question that we ask. Everybody always struggles.
Um, oh, possibly one of the matches that always stands out for me was it's the Dragon Gate Scramble match at Ring of Honor. And like I don't know who would replacing it, but it was just one of them matches that it was mind blowing because the pace they were working, the spots that they were pulling off, and it still had a great story start to finish. And yeah, that's probably one of the big matches for me that kind of went. Yeah, that's what I would like to. I'd like to be in there. But yeah,
Like, it's cool to get somebody like yourself on that's just so refreshing. Like a lot of times we've had people on not to bash the previous guests in case they're listening, but like they take it a bit too serious, or they've got like that finish date in their mind. They've got like it's always about like I don't know. It just seems like they're just not that is positive about wrestling. But it's something that's been in it for 20 years, longer than pretty much everybody I've had on's career. They've and you're still positive about it is insane. Like that's just such a cool thing, and it's something that I aspire to be. I hope when I'm at the same age as you, 38, so like in 8 years, which I'm dreading, but being at that age and I can still be positive about the stuff that I do as well. I would love to be just you're kind of turning into a role model now, man. Even though you're a bad guy character, I'll keep that aside, okay?
you know what I mean? Like I've got 3 kids. I don't want them to see negativity. And do you know what I mean? Especially from me, I there's enough. I mean, you only have to look out the window to see a ton of bad things happening. What?
Yeah.
I love the idea that like my son's 12 now, so he's in secondary school, and his friends have bought tickets to watch me wrestle, and he's like, "Yeah, that's my dad." my youngest, she turns 5 on Sunday. She's been at wrestling shows since she was 3 days old. Yeah, you know what I mean? I've got pictures of her with Ricochet, with the Blue Meanie, with Juventud Guerrera. You know what I mean? It's brought cool moments, and I don't see why we can't make more moments for everybody. And that's for wrestlers. Like I've had cool moments from like I said, I've worked with Al Snow. Now that's the equivalent of being an England football fan and saying like you've played football with Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
It's doing what you love doing with your hero, and it's brought moments for me, my family. We've all had like big experiences, and wrestling's had me traveling around the country, which I wouldn't have been doing. I wouldn't have been doing if it wasn't for wrestling. I've met so many great people, and just there is a lot of positive people out there, but they're also realistic. And that, do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that I won't ever say something's bad, because some things are. And I'm quite happy to point out if something's bad, but I'll also try and be constructive in it.
Yeah.
Because if somebody asks you if a wrestling show was good and they went, no, it was rubbish. Why is it rubbish? What could they have done better? It's fair enough, you think it's rubbish, but you also kind of have to realise that it might not be for everybody. So let's say, stop being so negative.
Definitely, man. It's that constructive criticism that gets you to build on stuff. Like if somebody's just like, no, I didn't like it. You know, like, is there no conversation happening here? Like, what are we getting from this? They would just no, like that's it, just nothing. Like I always, if somebody asks me, like for the channel, obviously they'll talk about wrestling. That's what I do. But I'll go into, like, I might not like the show. Like Raw is one of my worst shows. I hate watching the 3 hours because it's too long, and the stories don't make sense. The wrestling's okay, but then I'm like, okay, so like there's a few good moments in it. I'll pick the good moments and I'll be like, it was an okay show. Like these 3 good moments out of 3 hours is terrible having 3 good moments, but I'm like, it's still too long. Like I just think it's too much wrestling on one night. It's not a pay-per-view. Cut it down. But I still try and find a positive in it, because obviously they know what they're doing. They're making billions a year, but you need to try and find something that people can then be like. The worst thing I would hate is if my kid went onto YouTube and went to my channel and seen me bashing this wrestler. I don't want them to get that negativity. I just want them to, they'll know I might not like them. I'll say I don't like them. No a big fan of them, but this is something I'm not a fan of. Try and like even out. What's it? Yin and yang. That's what I was trying to say.
It's a funny thing that actually I was watching. I can't remember what show I was watching. I was watching a wrestling show the other day with my youngest sat next to us, and I can't remember who it was, but they came out and I was like, oh, I hate him. Like, you don't say you hate people. I've just been told off by my 4-year-old.
If nobody out there has kids, you never feel sillier than when your kid, like my kid's 6 and 5. I always need to think of their age, so it's 6 and 5. But when they tell you off, you're like, damn, like I'm meant to be the adult in this situation, and they've just told me off. Like, you feel really like I'm still a kid as well.
Like there was, at home I never swear at home, because I say I've got kids, so it's just easier. It's easier just to avoid the swearing. After one of my matches, I gave my opponent the finger, and my kids were watching, and they still haven't let us live it down. And it's like, come on.
Where I'm from, and I'm from Glasgow, literally it's part of our language. Like, you ever spoke to a Scottish person, every second word they say is a swear word. It's like just the way we speak. I bring them up in our culture, that's the way we speak. So I don't try and hide it from them. But like, there is words that I'm like, don't say this because it's a bad word. And if there was the other day, I jammed my toe in the door and all the bad words came out, and they've not let me live it down. It's, you need to put this in the swear jar, and you need to, and I think I've spent like £15 or something so far. They just keep reminding me. But yeah, man, thanks for being on. So where can people find you? Like I said, I've got your links in the descriptions, but where can people check you out? What would you recommend them to go check out on YouTube and stuff?
Yeah, if you follow us on Twitter, that's at Shady Nattrass. It's on my Facebook page is facebook.com/Shady Nattrass. And if you search for Pro Wrestling is Real Life on YouTube, that's my YouTube series. And also, if you could follow Wrestling Unity on Twitter and facebook.com/Project Wrestling Unity, and give them a follow. And as I say, we just want to kind of support everybody and keep building wrestling. As I say, British wrestling in particular took a bit of a big hit the last year. So we are going to have to start again and rebuild and make some new stars. And we've got enough talent that we can. So yeah, just I hope fans haven't turned their back completely on all of us. So yeah, just when local shows are back on, just go and check them out, and as I say, try and support them. Like when Target Wrestling started, we would never have guessed that we've had. You know what I mean? I had a Ring of Honor World Title match in my hometown. We've had Tommy Dreamer. Paul London's been a regular. We've had like all these big names come to Carlisle, and if you're a wrestling fan and you're just casually supporting Target at the start, you'd never have guessed that it would progress to this, but it has. So you never know if that local promotion ends up getting your favorite wrestler there, because you don't know. So give them some support, and yeah, let's help rebuild British wrestling.
Yeah, definitely, man. I would say British wrestling, it's been ups and downs for a long time. In a down period, I'm guessing it's going to go to an up soon. But all the links for yourself will be in the description below. Like I said, you've been a great guest, been positive. When your shows are back up and running, give me a shout. I'll come down. I'll bring my stuff and I'll do a show from there live or something. When we're allowed to like be closer to people. Until that point, then we just need to be a good distance away and wave. But if you wait there, I'm going to end the recording and then I'll talk to you a little bit just after.